Hello again, Steve here to talk about how uncomfortable it can be at times to be truthful and honest to people. It can be uncomfortable at times, yes, for sure. I want to relay a little bit of a story here as to why I want to talk about this and what instigated it, as you will see. I was at an event last night, actually, and a transgendered individual, let's just say, this was what was the presentation as such eventually, showed up to the event, and this is somebody who generally looked to me like a man, but was a little bit effeminate, you might say, and looked a little bit different, but generally looked like a man. Like, you look at a group of people, you can say, okay, that looks like a woman, that looks like a woman, that's a she, that's a he, and sometimes it's a little bit questionable. We've all met people, we're not sure at first. Well, in that case, yeah, we're not sure, but very often it's clear. And to this individual, it was clear to me this was a man. Now, when he or she, let's just say at this point, introduced himself or herself to me, the name was a name that is generally a female name, but can be somewhat androgynous, because in different languages, I know in French it sounds pretty much the same and so on. So, it could be a man's name. I've heard men use that name before. So that didn't really raise any suspicions. But towards the end of the event, I was talking to somebody here after the mingle, right? And this individual was standing over here talking to somebody else. And then somebody asked me something or whatever, and I just referred to him, right? And all of a sudden this thing started. No, actually it's, the preferred pronoun or the proper pronoun or whatever is she or her, right? And then I heard that individual talking to this individual. All of a sudden that discussion started about, I'm transgendered, I came out of the closet, and blah, and I had to go through all this and so on. And so, this may happen again. I may run into this situation before. So what do I do? And what I do when I have a confounding situation is I'd like to defer to honesty and be frank and be straight with people, right? When straight, I mean straight up. And because I don't like to deal with abstractions if there's an option. If there's an option for empiricism and reason, I like to defer to that. And not that I'm going to reject what somebody feels to be true as in true for them. Maybe I'm missing something, but I like to deal with that. So I'm going to relay a couple of things here, which is that we human beings can construct ideas which we may find very true to ourselves, but then it's hard for somebody else to necessarily see that as true. Example number one is, I was listening to this discussion a while back on the internet about how this person or this individual had identified as a furry, right? I'm not sure what this is, but it's identified as some kind of an animal, I guess. And identified as a North American river otter, right? Because I guess any other otter would be way out there, right? But anyways, but here's the thing, right? If that individual says they're the river otter, but if I look over there, I do not see a river otter, right? I see a man standing over there, or a woman, whoever it looks like to me. Now, another interesting thing is, at this event, we had a little bit of a game, you might say, impromptu speaking, where somebody would throw out a question, and then somebody would pick it up and, without any preparation, speak on it for 2 minutes. Well, this person was asked, do you believe in the paranormal? Do you believe in ghosts and so on? And the guy gave an answer, which I thought was probably a very genuine answer from him, which was that he doesn't deny that some people might fantasize about that, or might even believe it so strongly in their mind that they might see something that looks paranormal. However, if he's standing beside them and the guy standing beside him says, hey, look at the ghost, see the ghost there, if he looks up at me, well, I'm sorry, I don't see a ghost. Because his point was that a lot of these things are in our head, right? Like the belief in paranormal is a belief in paranormal. And it can build up so strong that people can actually have sort of like hallucinations, that they could actually see these sorts of things. But it doesn't mean that it's universalized that anybody who looks up there sees this ghost, right? And it's the same, to me, I think it's a similar thing with the transgendered thing. Because, if no matter how much somebody believes that they're something else, your river otter, your different gender or whatever, if you get your blood sampled or you take your genetics somehow and you have it tested by 2,500 different labs that are credible labs, they're going to come back with a similar result, that you're genetically a male or a female. It doesn't matter what you think you are. It's going to come back that way. It doesn't even matter if you go through all kinds of surgeries and mutilation surgeries and so on to carve you into something else. You could carve yourself into I don't know, some kind of a different animal maybe with plastic surgery these days and look like something else. But it doesn't mean that you are genetically, right? And so, I mean, I don't care. Fundamentally, I don't care. In fact, I believe in freedom, right? And I believe in the freedom of others to say whatever they want, as long as they're not hurting somebody, and to say that they identify with whatever they identify with. I am, a Baja Californian lizard today. I could say that, and I would hope that nobody would want to censor me on that. And I don't want to censor anybody else for what they are. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing where I want to get agreement on when I would converse with anybody who believes in things that are, as far as I'm concerned, they are subjective beliefs. Is number one, I don't mind at all if you ask me, hey, Steve, can you please call me as such? And that's respectable. Can you call me as a North American river otter? Can you refer to me as that? Can you refer to me as she or they or whatever? Well, you're free to ask me that. And you know what? Because I think I'm a decent person, and I believe that the way we deal with people in the world, at least on a first approach, is with decency and respect. At least give the benefit of the doubt. That I don't really mind referring to somebody as according to their wishes. I no issue with it. Couple of things, though. Couple of things. One is, in return, you have to be okay with me occasionally not referring to you as that, or forgetting what it is that you want me to refer you to as. And here's an example. Like, I'm not the greatest person at remembering names, all right? I can introduce, and that's the thing, is a name is a construct. It's the same idea. It's part of an identity. That's all it is. Somebody walks by, we can't just pick out, oh, that's John, if we never met John before. Hey, that's a man. We can say that because it looks like a man. We're pretty sure that's right. But whether it's John or Brian or whatever, who knows? Because that's just something that's made up. That's attached. It exists in our head, and it can exist in many heads. But there's no test for John, right? But there's a test for man. You can do a blood test or something. And so, anyways, everybody's got names, and I meet lots and lots of people, and I try my best to remember names, but sometimes I forget your name. Sorry, I forget your name sometimes. And sometimes if you're far out there with all kinds of, you want to be identified as something that I'm not familiar with seeing with my eyes, that's what you are. If you want me to identify you as something else, then yes, from time to time, I'm going to forget. And you have to be okay with that, because you're the one who's presenting this to me. And I'm not going to get into, long discussions, or maybe I would, but why would you want to do that? That's up to you. That's your freedom to do that. But you got to be okay with me not always complying with that, just because I'm very much of an empiricist and I try to stick with that. So if I see that, and if I'm in the flow sometime, I might say he when somebody wants to be called she. And that has to be okay. The second thing that I would have an issue with is if somebody was to get on board with this craziness called legislation for this Orwellian newspeak that now I have to refer to somebody as whatever it is they choose to be. And of course, there's no end to this. It starts out with somebody wants to be called she when he's a male, and then they want to be called they, and they want to be called, I don't know, 500 different things. It can get extremely complicated. There's no end to this. How many river otters or lizards or whatever. There's no end to this. So if I have to be compelled to remember, it's like, imagine if there was a law that would compel you to remember somebody's name. If you forget your name, if you forget their name because they already told you their name, and 2 weeks down the road you forgot their name or you called them something else, they could go to some human rights tribunal and have you thrown in a can because you forgot their name. It's completely ridiculous, right? This is why we have empirical standards. We have universals. You look at somebody who looks like a man, it's okay to call that person a man, a he, right? Same with a woman, she. So I have an issue with that. Bottom line though, I think honesty is important, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. We shouldn't be afraid to have an honest, quick attempt to get an agreement. Hey, look, I have no idea what this is all about. You want to be called such and such. I don't have a problem with that, but you got to understand that I forget names, and I might forget what it is that you want to be called, because that's, to me, it's like another version of a name almost. And but then also I disagree with compulsion, because I fundamentally agree with freedom, right? Freedom of expression, freedom of association. I also agree with the freedom for you to do what you want. To ask people, hey, will you call me this? I have no issue with that. So basically it comes down to freedom of speech. It comes down to honesty. And I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from this for ourselves, for sure. But it's something that we'll all run into at a certain point in time, is because this seems to be a huge trend that's going on. And I could get into what I believe is behind all this trend. I'm not going to go there right now. At the end of the day, I'm for freedom. If people want to refer to themselves as whatever they want to refer to themselves as, go ahead, refer to yourself whatever you want. And feel free to ask me, hey, Steve, will you refer to me as this? That's great. That's a very civilized thing to do. On the other hand, you got to understand that I forget names. If you got some far out thing that you're identifying with, I'm probably going to forget that at times in the flow of things if we're interacting in any way. And I'm also going to push back if there's any support for some draconian Orwellian legislation for newspeak that I have to refer to somebody as such. Just like if I have to remember somebody's name. Well, that's kind of an impossible thing at times, right? There's so many people in the world, and there's no end to how many pronouns that somebody can come up with, or identities that they can come up with. There's no end to it. And it seems like it's proliferating all the time. So, hope this was helpful. I don't know. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. And please comment in the box below. Talk again soon. Bye for now.